Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Manlius Town Board meeting for February 14th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. As always, we are remote and virtual. We've got a Zoom running. If you're interested in joining via Zoom, participate in the meeting. You can find instructions to join at the top of our agenda. We're also streaming to our Facebook, YouTube, and to our website. Next up, I would like to ask Councilor Bollinger to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I know Councilor Christian will be joining us remotely at some point. She's stuck in traffic right now. But we will pick on right to open the podium. So first up, I have Craig Duzak. Some comments about that.
So thank you for coming. I want to start actually with a side note. I understand Councilor Waters is leaving, and I want to offer my congratulations of her being an approachable, competent, and compassionate leader. I know she's going to do well in her future endeavors, and I hope you'll continue to work in some way, continue to work with the town of Manlius.
I promise to. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So Will Rogers once said, all I know is what I read in the papers, and all I know is what I see online, on TV, and in the paper. And this happened to be about OSIDA that was in the news. And I guess it raised my concern, first as a taxpayer, property owner, citizen, but also a concern as to what the board's response is. I noticed that in the news, the town of Clay in particular, but also it seemed that DeWitt, Cicero, and other towns were organizing some kind of response. My understanding is that the Onondaga County Industrial Development Agency is going to extend exemptions to residential housing, perhaps more extensively than it had previously. I also understand that tomorrow morning at 8:30, there is a webinar or some sort of conversation about this. I would hope that the town would be involved in it, and I would express my reservation about widespread exemptions on at least three grounds. One, it seems counterintuitive that an industrial development agency is considering residences as industrial development. Just on the face of it, it seems contrary. Second, it seems to me as a, well, sometimes economic student, that if there is, as there has been widely reported, a shortage of housing and the imminent need for greater housing development, the idea that somehow we need to incentivize building seems contrary to what economics would dictate to us. You know, any of you bought a car in the last 2 years knew that the supply wasn't there and you had to wait and you had to pay premiums to get it. Why would we be giving an incentive, a discount, to someone who has a product that is going to be highly in demand? And the third is, I'm concerned as a taxpayer because of the implications for both the town and the school budgets. That if you exempt certain properties from the tax base, the cost is still there, but the burden is borne by a smaller number of people. Now, again, there may be implications to this that I'm unaware of. Certainly, I presume you're better advised to what is happening and why this is there. And I hope you would take a stand and a position and participate in this. Thank you.
So, on that, I know I had talked to most of you about the changes that OSIDA had proposed. I guess we can probably just have this conversation real quick right now. Basically, you know, this is our first meeting since receiving these changes to have had an opportunity to discuss it. And I mean, right off the bat, there's some pretty significant changes. For example, a 3-year pilot program for market rate housing that starts off with a 75% exemption. In addition to things that I think, you know, we would be interested in is exemptions up to 10 or 12 years for housing with 10 or 15% of the units at or below 80% of the AMI, the workforce housing we've been discussing. Those start at 100%. If they have 15% of the units, it's a 3-year, 100% exemption. And then there is a 12-year for senior lifestyle market housing, which again, it's a 12-year that for the first 3 years is 100% an exemption. And I think kind of the conversations we've been having is we want housing, we want affordable housing, we want senior housing. But what I would be looking for from the board is the okay to send in a comment that says, as it stands, Manlius town board is not for or against this. We would like to be part of a larger conversation to understand how this could affect not only our budget, but also the school budgets and any other municipal partners we have. Because, I think we want to see incentives for this type of stuff, but I think.
I don't know why we need some for market.
For market rate housing.
Yeah.
No market rate.
So would it be okay if I sent a comment back to the IDA for their meeting tomorrow that just said, we would like to be part of a conversation to consider these, to have a better understanding of how this works, the overall strategy?
Input into how it I don't think it's fair that we would just be told this is gonna be implemented. I guess we don't have to offer it to any of our developers.
If somebody gets a pilot, exactly, and it takes it out of the town's hands.
Yeah. So
We have control over zoning.
I would be prone to object to engagement and say,
As
we'd
written.
like to be part of the discussion about how to do something.
Is that the general consensus?
Yes, but then they're gonna be mixed use developments, like you're saying, like the 10 to 15% of them are affordable in there, that's pretty much how we've been moving with our projects here, with our PUDs, is that percentages of them are affordable, not entire developments. So I don't know if we just wanna come out and best saying, no, we don't want any of the
Well, I
markets.
just think we want to have more dialogue, and I also want to include the schools, because what we've done with our developments, it's not the school taxes. That's just been our.
I think we need to do our homework too, and actually take a couple of examples of projects that if this were implemented today, what would the impact be for us, so that we are grounded in, do that and then respond back with, here's some examples of if this was implemented today, how it might affect our.
Considering we have 2 projects that would both be applicable for all of these pilots.
Yeah,
So what I think, just to get the comment in before the meeting, I'll say, we've got 2 projects right now that could be considered under these pilots. And, we have some concerns, we'd like to be part of a larger conversation and don't think it's appropriate to vote and adopt this right now before we've only had 1 meeting to actually discuss this, so.
Well, and they didn't give us any warning at all.
Yeah, so,
and
okay,
I think in there, it's important to be critical. I will also want to be responding with what we like about what it's doing, so that we're also showing our interest in the same way we would love to be considered a pro-housing community, being able to be articulated in that, so referencing in the, maybe from the plan, the pages like in the, and something like that.
We are gonna be, my understanding is that we are gonna be looking into moving towards being a pro community, so that we're.
what I know, I discussed this with their attorney too, there's some questions about necessarily the legal interpretations that allow for pilots for residential, so again, a lot of unknowns. This is our first opportunity to really discuss this, so I'll send a comment and I'll make sure I CC everybody on that. Okay,
And it's one thing to be exempt from sales tax of private products, but it's another thing to be exempt from school taxes and.
and I think especially too, we are a town with a police department, which is not the situation for a lot of these other towns, and that is something that directly impacts.
Yes,
Yeah, housing, it impacts the services that we have to deliver, it's not just a school problem.
exactly.
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you very much, thank you for the comment. Next up, we've got Bob Berger to talk about Enhanced Star.
Yes, I'm a new resident of the town of Manlius and went in to apply for the Enhanced Star and was told that I was ineligible because the town doesn't follow the same guidelines that the state says that you're allowed to deduct from your adjustable gross income, any income from IRAs. And that knocked me out and my partner. And I want to know, it hasn't always been that way. It's not in almost every other municipality, even the city where I came from. And I'd like to know what your reasoning is, because it's this board that made that decision to exclude the deduction for IRAs. And I want to know what your reasoning is.
I would need to get information.
Yeah,
We
well,
do participate in,
The enhanced star,
The
but
enhanced-
he's saying that the calculations for the adjusted gross income, we don't follow the same as the state.
As a state and or almost every other municipality.
but we actually expanded.
We raised the income limits.
yeah, but so, I mean, I think.
We live on fixed income.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for
And
that.
it's a smack to senior citizens.
Yeah, we can take a look at this, we'll take a
And
look.
we have people with this immediately because of that.
March first.
That would be
Did you have
wonderful.
a phone call with someone or did they send you an email?
I actually went into the assessor's office and she explained to us that,
And she said it was about the cutoff, about eligibility for that.
eligibility being the fact that you do not acknowledge reducing your adjusted gross income by the amount of which is your IRA income.
Well, okay, and could you help us compare, just so we know your own context, which municipality you'd have us look at for the comparison?
Take a look at almost anyone on Doug County and the city of Syracuse, and also take a look at the state recommendations. I can read them verbatim, but if you'd like.
So we'll have to take a look at what's currently in, that we've adopted in the past, and then I can talk.
It wasn't always that way, I found out in Manlius. It's a recent, I don't know whether this board did it or someone recently, but
I don't recall doing it either, and I don't know.
Did you sign in so we have your contact information to get back to you?
I just don't have any contact information.
315.
Well, let's, you know what, I'll, instead of. I will get your contact information.
I'll write it down and give it to
Right.
you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, I'm sorry that, that you're,
Yeah.
this is your issue right away. We'll get back to you.
Is there anyone else here from the podium? Okay. We move right along. So next up, we've got our 2023 Recreation Department Annual Report. Okay, we will move on for just a second.
Did I do?
Or, yeah, we'll just, okay. So we do have County Legislator Mark Olson here for a county update.
Needs to come back and kick me, I'm fine, so. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to give an update and appreciate you giving me the time to do this. Before I forget, I just want to wish you the best.
Thank you.
I know what it feels like to leave a position you love, so enjoy, but please stay in touch. So thank you very much for everything. So I think I have a PowerPoint for you all while we're keying that up. People have asked, what is the county legislature do? So we came up with just a little, real quick, just a bullet point, and I have more for these if you need them. Just kind of a nuts and bolts of what the county legislature does, how it works, how laws get enacted, how our budget process happens, and just to give people some information. Our meetings are now live streamed as well as, as just like yours are, but ours are at 1 o'clock. And I think
the
it's.
sound system is better than it was.
Yes, and we actually have an upgrade coming. So we just ordered a new sound system. So that system is very old and antiquated. But so what we're trying to get more information out, I thought this was one of the important things. Also reaching out to the town boards and the village boards in my district to kind of educate and talk. And there's a lot going on that a lot of people don't know if they don't realize or if they don't watch the updates. So apologize. This is my committee assignments. So I just to turn a little bit so I can see. I apologize for everybody putting there, all of you. So this is the committee appointments. Every 2 years you get new committee assignments. These are I'm a chair of public safety, and that's 911 Emergency Operations Center, the Sheriff's Department, corrections, all the things that go on with public safety. And then the member of planning and economic development. One of those subcommittees is a housing, on the housing study, which I think is very important. And then there's other appointments. You guys can read through this. Also, Allison has this to give you a copy of it too. I think it's important to have goals. When I was mayor, it was top 10. We've shrunk it down because 10 is very difficult to do, but I like to see public safety initiatives, and that is, if you've noticed, if you read in the Sunday's paper, that was one of our initiatives, get the cameras. So those body cameras and all that system, and I want to thank the police chief, because when I had questions, I was able to reach out and ask some of the questions, but that's one initiative that we had that lines us up with the city of Syracuse as well as the county of Onondaga, and that program is available to all towns and villages that have police departments. The housing, just like you talked about being a pro-housing community, we are really looking, and you'll see the money that we put behind it. And then economic development projects that work, that fit into your community. It's not good enough just to say, hey, this is a development that's going to happen in your community. Does it fit into the character of the town? Does it fit into our area? And will it make sense? Some of the things that I'm working on that I think are important, people don't know. Actually, there's a lot of things that happen at the county that we work with the town on. The first one is we gave last year a $10,000 grant. We're working through that process. And I think it's important. I met with the supervisor as well as I was the mayor at that time, but the county has OCHIP money to help if and when this project does get approved by the voters and this building is going to be readapted to something like Redfield Village, we have an ability to help at the county level up to $250,000. And we want to do that. We want to help. I don't know if John's eyes were open, but when they said they had a waiting list of 113 people at that one facility in our town, I was like, wow, that's just incredible to think about. The civil service, we have a meeting next week with the commissioner of all of the county employment. And it's important because we have problems with our fire, EMS, and police. We're going to sit down with commissioner. We're going to talk these things out, and we're going to be able to see if there's a solution to help with those things. The Main Street Grant Program, John and I have talked. We're working through that. The village of Manlius last year was very successful. The year before, the village of Manila was very successful. The town and the village of Fayetteville had not been. So this, I hope, is our year to do that. So you and I talked. I sent you the email. This is really exciting. This stream mitigation, when Micron's built, they're going to be taking away wetlands and streams. They have to then, I call it credits, put that back into the system somewhere. They're looking for projects. They're looking for communities. And the communities that have shovel-ready projects and have things on their docket ready to go are going to be the first ones to get funded. Now, obviously, Clay is going to get the most because it's the closest part, but other municipalities that can show and prove that, we're on the ground floor of this. It just happened last week when I had my second meeting with them. You have the information, so we'll be working closely on that project. The CNY Arts Municipal Grants Program, we've already, that award, or those programs came out. I think we're at $599,000 so far, so there's still $400,000 of public art grant awards. And then I got a nice email from Mr. Kinsella about, and so we're working through that. I think it's $7,200 for a grant possibly to do monitoring near the quarry. So I'm going to take that to the legislature, see what we can do. Yeah, it may be the same symbol or same money as that. So again, I think it's important that people know from the town and the villages and everybody here, it's not just the county doing what they do and the town doing what they do. We're actually working together on several things and several initiatives. And I appreciate working together. I was going to have the web commissioner here today, but she texted me on my way over and said, sick child, I can't be here. But I wanted to give you an update. And she was going to speak about this because these dates, frankly, floored me. I can't believe it takes that long to get this project done when it was funded over 2.5 years ago, or 3.5 years ago. But this is the construction schedule right now. 2026 is, to me, unacceptable. And I know one of the councilors lives in the area. It's unacceptable. But the process, so she was going to speak about this. I'm going to leave this one alone a little bit because I want her to come back. I want her to come back and meet with your board because you would listen to you're listening to your constituents, you're listening to your neighbors, you're hearing what's going on. And I think it's important that we take care of this, but I wanted to show you where we were with this project.
Thank you for the update.
Yes. So the plan on Onondaga. So we, as the legislature, approved $30 million unanimously for projects. And it talks about strong centers and housing in neighborhoods and community mobility and greenways and blueways and agriculture. I think it's important that the community development part is Main Streets. Economic development is $3 million in small micro loans. Housing in neighborhoods is $12 million, and that's $5 million towards critical infrastructure that presents unique barriers to infill development and mixed-use centers. You guys have a unique center that needs that help. There's $5 towards the expanded senior housing. Okay, so there's more money, and OCHIP, 2 more money. OCHIP has been very successful. So there's 7 million, almost $12 million that could be used in projects that it could happen in this area. There's also greenways and blueways, and the nice thing about this is it's towards the implementation and objectives related to development and improvement of greenways and blueways and facilities. These projects may include county parks, but also include potential funding for municipalities, even interest in greenways and blueways development where possible. I know you guys have been talking about these things, and this is something that I think if we can get together and we can have a plan and we can work with engineering, we can get some of these things done. And the last one is agricultural. And this one is, it's towards the agritainment. And we have some of it in the town. When you think about the farm out on Route 5, the Gridley farm, they were going to be part of the On-Farm Fest. They didn't have the labor, we have the maple syrup. We have, there's things going on in this town that could benefit from this. So most of that money, I will tell you, is going towards the Saturday Fun Day down at the market on Hiawatha. We're really trying to help shore that up for the community. So Main Street, we've been very successful in the town, but the town and the Village of Fayetteville have not. It's all about creating economic development projects. So I'll give you a few examples. Kirby's, the plaza in front, and Kirby's, they are looking at facades and windows, and that probably will get funded. Bull and Bear's looking at something. Craftsman Inn's looking at something. There was anything to do with creating more people coming into your shop or creating more people coming into your community. The first round was the things we did in front of the Craftsman Inn with sidewalks, and we did, signs, and we did striping, and we did parking lots. And that's kind of, that phase has gone away. They're looking at more of economic development projects since the major funding in our county budget is sales tax. So anything that regenerates sales tax or employment is something that thinks, and here's all the different things. What's that?
Did I say they do that by the 16th?
The 16th, yeah, you've had it for
Yeah, about a month.
a month and a half, yeah.
Good job,
for
it's
sure.
18 or
Yeah.
16.
Well, we will work, literally the application is a page. I mean, it could be done in 10 minutes. It's just putting the projects together and working on it together. But I think it's important, it's $5 million with up to 5. Here's some projects in the town that have been Village of Manlius, Village of Fayetteville, Village of Manoa. There's some of the murals. That now fits into a public arts thing, so that wouldn't be a Main Street grant program, that would be an art thing. But there's things here that I think are important. Charlie's, and Manoa's just been transformed. When you think about what's happened in Manoa, Manoa's got transformed from that project. Shape Up for Veterans, this is something that is available. We've had a few, but not as many as I would have hoped. I think there's a real opportunity here to help our veterans in our community. And I applaud the town and the villages and everyone that gave the exemption, and for firemen, for seniors, and for the veterans. But we have this money, and we really want to get it out there and help this. We help somebody in the Village of Manoa, and we've helped someone in Manlius. But I think there's more opportunity, and this could be windows, this could be siding, this could be roofing, this could be HVAC. Things that they need, and if they live in there after a certain amount of time,
3 years.
yeah, it's written off. So it's a great program, and it's still funded. So.
Do you think a way to reach out about that would be, is there a flyer for that program at all? Or is it something great to give it to Tyler and, keep a bulletin about? How do you imagine getting the word out?
We talked about going through the towns with it because you guys have the ability. I mean, do you have maybe we put it in the newsletter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think there's a way that we could do that and definitely help the residents. This is just some things we have talked to the Village of Manoa, or Village of Fayetteville, Village of Manoa, the Chamber, the Economic. I don't know if you got this flyer or if you got this. I can leave it for you. The information in here is unbelievable. I mean, what's happening in our community and what's happening and we're just blessed to be in an area that has great schools, great quality of life, great housing stock, a lot of good things happening. But I'll leave this for you. I mean, I think the key indicators show that we're poised to be in a very good position as the growth happens. Like you and I talked about the infrastructure needed for Micron, and could we fit into that, and how do we fit into that? So I think it's very important. And just so people know how to get a hold of me. So, any questions before sorry, I took up a lot of time. I apologize. You guys went downstairs.
You went right through that.
Yeah. This, I gave it to Allison today, so it'll be on. You're more than welcome to put that anywhere if you need it on the website or whatever. So.
If anybody has questions.
You had mentioned economic development as most of your things, but on the public safety side, what do you envision the county sort of, what are the, because I can imagine a lot of things the city would be concerned about. What is the county sort of focus on?
The one thing was the Axon agreement with the cameras and the reporting and all that. The second thing is during the budget process, I got $200,000 added to the budget to do a study on fire and EMS in the county. Looking at it, 80% of what most agencies do is EMS.
Right.
And that's the easiest thing to start studying because of the state agencies. So that is where we're going to start focusing our efforts with that study and with that funding. We're working through the Office for Emergency Management. And then recruitment, retention, and all the other things that are public safety. So those two are the big things that we want to see through. The other thing is the Emergency Operations Center just moved into their new building. And now we're meeting there next month. What opportunities are there to help local police departments, local fire departments? What training, what opportunities, what education? The facility is.
Has more space to.
The facility is, yes, it's in the right spot and it was done properly. And I think we're going to try to reach out to like the mayors and the supervisors to have them out there so that they can see, you know, that's where now like COVID, God forbid, if it ever happened again and we needed to go, everybody can drive through, get their kits, walk out, you know, there's not this downtown and there's not, and all the other tools and operations that they have, I think people need to understand. It's one of those things you don't know it until you need it. And there's all these things that I think people should know what we're doing and how we're doing it and what the capabilities are, so.
Which legislators are engaged with the STEAM school?
We are just really, I went to the grand opening or the cutting. I didn't vote because I wasn't there when it did, but we're really the funding source and we're the bidding and the construction of that. And then we're turning it over. But the city couldn't afford to bond for the project, so they used the county as the funding source. So we're really, once the project's done, it's going to be something that is turned over and the city and the county. I'm not sure which legislator's on it right now, to be honest with you, but I can find out for you.
So thank you. The reason I ask is that I'm one of those parents who was really excited to see a public school effort to have a county-wide attendance at the school. So I know that there are, in theory, so far, reserved seats for students from across our county, including the districts.
Yep.
And of course, the school districts and how they interact with BOCES is really clear. As I understand it right now, there's not an allocation. The money hasn't been figured out for how to actually get students from outside the city to the school.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe other considerations related to school districts being concerned about, like any public school district, when I have a public charter, is that taking away from my budget for kids, you know, because we don't want to be this, I wouldn't want to see this new school be, especially when Micron cares a lot and Amazon, others care a lot about it too.
Oh yeah, the money, yeah.
I wouldn't want to see there be a natural disincentive for students from outside the city to be a part of it because of the dynamics. So yeah. So
agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Totally. So
you don't want it to be you want it to be an asset, not a
and not like, oh, we tried,
yes.
but, you know,
Yeah.
and like that was just a thought. So I'm raising that, and I know that the school districts are asked to.
I'll find out.
But that'll be really exciting. But I
Yeah.
think when we think about infrastructure, we think about the future of our kids, you know, and the future people we want to keep here, and certainly the school is part of that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And the things that they're going to be doing are just unbelievable. Yeah. And ESM is already
Absolutely.
a beacon
Really
of,
engaged.
yes, really engaged. So.
Any other questions?
There are also, Caitlin's not here, but there's $100,000 in this year's budget for sustainability plans. So if you wanted to update yours, and I know you guys have one, but if there was any ability, I think it's important that we had money in there. We put in money for comprehensive plans, but $1 million. But I said, well, let's do 900,000 and then put 100,000 for people that don't have a plan. And here's an avenue for them to have a plan.
Amanda Mazzoni at the Central New York Regional Planning, board, and see if there is, like, was there something we're waiting to do, we haven't done yet, because there's funding available, I don't see what.
Yeah, there was this article in, you know, another report about the percentage of waste going into landfills. The Seneca Falls landfill was featured in this conversation. There's big discussion about whether or not to expand it or not. So one of the biggest in the state. And so we know that 20% of waste that we throw out could be diverted to composting. It's really economically not feasible, right, for us to go to our vendors right now on Syracuse haulers and say, hey, we want to include composting. It would be $600 additional or $400 per household in order to do that. And I know the Village of Fayetteville is working on something. Can you, from a county perspective and related to sustainability, kind of keep composting pilots in mind and also keep our community, both the town, you know, and the villages in mind for supporting that? We have,
We were fortunate, it just everything lined up at Fayetteville, with, you know, to pick it up, where to put it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? We used American Rescue money to buy the container, so it was just it was an absolute win-win-win
yeah,
to take 20% out and to
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, what we had done was there's that new Skinny Atlas company that is working in that area, and a private company, small business, that was looking to do it, and we were thinking about finding a way to do like a test run, to really build up a core group of people to understand what the issues are. And because we have a group of people that just compost, we have a group of people who are curious about it and at home, and then logistics. So I can forward you.
Yeah, that'd be
what we
great.
did.
Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah.
But we want to be, the town, I think, wants to be able to learn more and be a part of that.
I'm a very reactive, not, proactive, not reactive person. And so if we can do that, that's an absolute win-win for the community.
And I guess my point, just to connect the dots, was just that maybe that plan that we had for a little pilot or a way to somehow get the benefit of what Village of Fayetteville is doing and learn from it, whatever, it could be a little mini application to that sustainability fund.
Yeah. I think there's 100, they're up to 100 now. I need to add the cap in it, just to see how it would work. So, and I think they're starting it soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep that in mind. So, anything else? Great, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate your time.
Sorry.
Okay, next up, recreation, your 2023 recreation department annual report.
Yes, I am sorry that we are having some printing issues. I wanted to be able to give everybody one and it's not working. So anyways, it is going to be on the screen. I'm really excited and happy to be here to finally give you guys an annual report. I know you've been looking for this for a while and it was a great year to do it because we've had a really successful year. It's, something I'm very proud of, and I have my team here with me. It's great to have 3 full-time recreation people who care so much about this town and so much about our programs. So I try to make it quick. I don't want it to be too long. So I started out with our mission just to remind everybody, because we haven't done an annual report before, and for anybody, if anybody would like a copy of this, please feel free to email me, or maybe Allison's email. Better than mine?
It's in the agenda as well.
Oh, okay, it's in the agenda. We will be happy to share this with you. So anyways, about us, we're 3 full-time rec staff. We report to the board through Alyssa Italiano, our liaison. We all work really hard together to bring the town's great programs that are affordable and open to everyone. Our staff, we have staff for playground and swim that we hire and special events, but then there's also 121 other programs that go through our department that are run by coaches and instructors, and they are also hiring staff that we pay. So we have a lot of people that we're employing in this town. Great people. Our budget, just showing you how it breaks down, kind of. So the top one is with personal service, which are everyone that we pay our employees. So as you can see, that is the biggest part of our budget. As you can imagine, just the playgrounds and swim alone, that's our largest amount of money, is paying those staff. So I did a second one just to show you how our budget looks without staff in it. And then the second biggest thing is program expense. So that makes sense, right? That's where most of our money is going. The next one is just looking at program spending and revenue. Oh, and quickly, we did not go over budget this year. Alyssa's like, make sure you say that in here somewhere. But now onto the spending and revenue. So this shows you where our spending goes. The one on the left is program expense line. So those are all the, things that you need to run your programs. And you can see that summer show is in there, playground, it's broken down by what we spend the most on for each thing. And then the other part is personal service line, which is all of our staff. So of course, you know, the playgrounds are the largest for that as well, but it shows there how that's all broken down. It's hard for you guys to see that up here, but if you want to see that, or if you care, again, email me, I'll send this to you. And our revenue, we were above what we projected by almost $24,000. So we stayed under budget, brought in more revenue. That's always a good thing, right? I just wanted to highlight, our biggest thing is collaboration. All of our special events are with the state, the villages. We even have one now that is also the county. I put it up there and I see Jason sitting here. We couldn't do all this without the police department too. That's another big collaboration that we're so happy to have. They're present at all of our special events and they do so much for the community and we appreciate that. Thank you. But I think that's a great thing, you know, there's no politics in recreation. We're all working together so hard to bring great programs to the community. Next are the special events I just spoke of, just giving you participation numbers. And the other thing is that we promote stewardship for our community by having donations to the food bank with every event that we have, and that gives you the numbers of how much we brought in. We just had our 2024 Frosty Forest. I'll just throw in there that we probably tripled that with what we brought in. All of these are very weather dependent. We had a beautiful day for this year, so it was great. Also, just want to throw in that Fish Stack 2023 just won an award with Central New York Recreation and Park Society, Special Event of the Year Award. So that's another little fun thing. It's gonna move on to the state level, so we'll see how it goes there too. Next are our playgrounds. This should show you our participation went up in all playground and swim. So that's great. We did raise rates a little bit, so we were a little worried, but it's clearly still an affordable program. Next is the summer show. We've always been asked where our attendees coming from, so I put that pie chart in there to show you by zip code where they come from. And I threw in a bunch of quotes because this one, I don't know if there's any other town, at least that we know, that does a summer show. So sometimes we're asked, why are you doing this? But those quotes will tell you, and you know, the arts are just so important, really. And we're very proud of this. It's been over 40 years going on and it's still very popular. And there's a lot of things that come for people that are part of the arts, so.
Maybe do you think we could apply for the CNY arts funding towards the musical?
I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
I bet we could.
Well, guys, put the money there. We're still in murals, so I guess.
No, but the CNY arts includes performances and
Yes.
I don't see why it wouldn't be within the.
That would be great. Could you email me the information?
Yeah.
Thank you. The next thing is our self-sustaining programs. Like you said, oh my gosh, excuse me, I'm just slightly nervous. Obviously, I was saying that we have, you know, teachers, coaches, instructors, a great network of people offering wonderful programs, and we're so thankful that they go through us because it makes it so much easier for the community to have one place to go, register for 10 programs for the summer coming up, and it's all done in one shot, and none of that comes out of our budget. I mean, I guess our time is really it, but as far as anything else, you know, if they're self-sustaining, we bring in the money and then the coach lets us know how they want it dispersed. We do keep 3% of that so that that's helping to offset our staff, you know, full-time staff costs as well as the rec desk program and insurance. The last thing, maybe not the last thing yet, yes it is. This year we did a little bit more community engagement. So Alyssa pointed out we should really let you guys know and remind you that that was part of it, and we were happy to help in any way that we could. So that's it. I hope you understood me. I feel like I have marbles in my mouth or something. But thank you. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
No, this is great though. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thanks everyone.
What's the summer show?
Oh, catch me if you can. Right?
It's official.
It was real estate, we can, have the rights.
Okay, so, next up on the agenda, just something.
Saxophone?
So we had previously looked at the RM and RT zones. Originally, when we made the biggest changes to RM, it was to encourage mixed use, specifically having those commercial uses in with, residential. And so at the time, we had thought to retire RT, but that didn't end up working out for a couple of reasons. And basically, the reason that this kind of came up is we've had a recent zone change application for one of the parcels that is an RT. And basically, the question is, I think the original intent was to apply for neighborhood shopping. Neighborhood shopping is a zone that is very specific for the title of it. It's meant to be small shops kind of in and around residential areas as a very much a transition zone. The problem is there's really no neighborhood shopping zoning in the town. I know we might have a couple of parcels, but it's.
Yeah, it's less widely used than some of the commercial zoning classifications.
Yeah, and so basically that was, I know when we had the application, we had a great conversation with the applicants, but also code enforcement officer, Tom Quinters, and our attorney, and I wanted to kind of just bring that to the board as a point of discussion of, neighborhood shopping has certain criteria that it would allow a business to operate within. RM, when we had that conversation, we were pretty serious about no freestanding retail, that in order to have retail in RM, that it was to include residential. 50% of the site had to be at least residential. That's
I
not,
think we really want it small.
yeah, that was the general intent. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a ton of other professional office uses and things like that. So when we think about RM is very, very tightly tied to being essentially one of the first transition zones out of residential. And then RT, again, is just a really unused zone. I think we have all of 5 parcels, if that. And so then neighborhood shopping, and when you read residential transitional and neighborhood shopping, I think it's pretty clear that they're both trying to do very similar things. And so I was really just looking to the board to have a quick discussion, maybe see if we want to look into this farther. But like I said, we have a zone change application that I believe the intent is for neighborhood shopping because of the zoning that it is. And it's really just a question of, is this an opportunity where we modify RT to better fit the need of neighborhood shopping? Or if there's any value in whether it be consolidating those 2 zones or anything like that, or if we would rather wait for the overall zoning that will eventually happen as part of the moving out the comprehensive plan. So any thoughts,
My first thought is, that I'd like to know, if you said we do have very few parcels that are currently neighborhood shopping, is there an example of one of those throughout?
It's a little plaza across from Manila too.
Oh,
That's
Fremont
it.
Plaza?
Yeah.
I would not have thought that was.
Medical center, medical also?
Yeah.
No, it's our, which is that
Something,
already.
Yeah.
is it something else we're doing?
We're playing
Or is it
with it right now.
or it used to be, what's it?
There is regional shopping, which is different than neighborhood shopping, which is like the town center and things like that.
But
And
maybe
again, I feel as though that,
separate plaza.
Maybe I was confusing it with the region with the RS.
Yeah, looking at it again, neighborhood shopping really is just that one plaza that's out there. And then RT, we know exists solely where this other,
Outside village, it's
Yeah.
there.
yeah, the parcel that is having the zone change platform is currently one of the few RT parcels.
And just in terms of the applicable of RM is scattered around, like it's a real zone, there's several parcels that use RM, whereas RT is just this one place and neighborhood shopping is just this one place. So the question is, and I would say, so if you're, my feeling is, this is part of the overhaul of the whole thing, is that whenever you have a zone that nobody's ever chosen to use except the person that it was created for, it kind of makes you wonder, like, was this really meeting a need?
Yeah.
And the fact that we've got two zones that are almost identical, that each only have one parcel in them.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think like that needs to just be reworded to be more expansive or in some way to kind of relook at it. But in the short term, we've got a business that wants to do something. So I don't want to hold them up for a 2-year zoning redraw,
Yeah.
you know, for just one business, so. But I would say ultimately, the better plan would be to rewrite both of them to be a brand new third thing that comes.
Yeah, that kind of, because I think that was the issue, is neighborhood shopping specifically allows freestanding retail to certain sizes. Whereas residential transitional, it's still more of this professional office space.
Sort of looks like a house somehow.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I think based on the changes we made to RM, that RT has become somewhat, what's the word I'm looking for? Obsolete.
Yeah. Which is what we decided last year.
Yeah, so if that's where we're at, I mean, it's just a question of, we potentially have an application before we
So,
consider neighborhood shopping.
When you say, it limits it to a certain size, is that the square footage of what the shop could be? Or it's just the acreage of what?
Can I
And I asked because there used to be a Country Max in Fremont, Plaza, and that was a very
Yeah,
large
so
store.
no neighborhood shopping district shall exceed 15 acres. Total max, all structures shall further be limited to a maximum of 10,000 square feet, footprint per acre. So the idea was commercial, but just less intense, basically.
So can I propose then that we think of this either as RT and as going into a updated broader RM, broader RM, residential, multi-use interest. If not, then actually just calling it transitional or something like that, or just not having the residential piece of it, so it's like neighborhood transitional or something like that, or just transitional, and then writing it. But I think the whole concept is that all of these before the overhaul are rooted in this idea of us being a bit of a bedroom community. And so rather than trying to, whatever works that feels like it's going to be a good logical step for the overhaul.
So three out of 4 of the structures that are in RT are residences. That currently, today.
So just keeping that as the baseline.
So it needs to be remembered that, I mean, the fact that it looks like a neighborhood is because it is a neighborhood. The fact that it's residential is because those are residences. This one particular structure in question, it's applying for the zone change. We need to talk about that because neighborhood shopping is not appropriate. It's,
But it also was never read.
that's before my time.
So it was always a business of some sort, so, well, I don't wanna say never, because it looks pretty, maybe it was about.
1800s, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So we have to think about that. Right now, as neighborhood shopping is right now, it does allow for a special permit, drive-through. Things that would be very attractive to a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks on a very busy corner.
And would not be.
It would not be friendly to the neighborhood. And I know on first glance, it appears that you have a shopping plaza across the street, but I might add, that's a completely separate municipality. That's the village of Manlius, with their own zoning, their own issues. This side of the street is basically all residential except for this one structure. So I understand that, we're having a discussion right now that explains why this vestigial remains of this one zone are still kicking, because what else can you do there? You can't force this applicant to pitch a cot, move in. This is the same building. Oh,
No.
that's not part of it.
I think that might be the RA parcel that's in there, which again,
Yeah, there's 2 RTs, RA, 2 RTs.
There's a lot of things that just don't make sense, so.
Yeah.
the same thing,
Can I clarify that? Based on our zoning map, when that was drawn, the physical zoning map, it does appear that the first 200 feet of all those parcels are zoned RT. which then goes into a part of the town ordinance I've only had to deal with twice, which bases the restrictions on such where we'll have, most notably over on Kirkville Road, where you'll have R1 and RA on the larger parcels, and the restrictions that are placed on those, because I had a single family that was looking to subdivide, and it was dual zone. Another one that's similar to that is the preserve on Woodchuck Hill Road has the zoning of Woodchuck Hill with RA off of it. So the way that it was drawn in 2016 on the map, it does show 200 feet off of that for all of those properties being zoned RT. If there is, I know on map link,
So we say that there's two zones on?
yes,
Single property,
correct.
that's another thing that you.
It's like for lemonade
It's
stands
split,
in front,
it's
like, I
split,
don't know.
it's split
So what
zone.
part of the zone is the structure in?
Yeah.
We would have
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
and measure that off of
But this
GIS.
is something we've had a couple instances where we look at these parcels, they end up being
Split zone.
Happens if the parcels get subdivided, consolidated, then you end up with lots with, that are half in one zone, half in
None of them
another.
are compliant with it.
So I think,
I know that's another, so those parcels that are RA may have, this also happens on East Genesee. I know the funeral home was, had two zoning classifications, and they had to come in for a zone change for the back half to do their parking a long time ago. But that was one of those, so
So we're
that
sort of
is,
covering this issue with the area past the high school in some ways. Like, but when you think about where things are headed and the way things are, the area just past the high school, certainly along East Seneca Turn, right? West Seneca Street, sorry.
Yeah.
West Seneca Street, we're having East Genesee Street up to Linden Corners. So I think thinking about all of those corridors in context of the, almost thinking about the perfect zone that is needed, or the zoning that is needed for that, and then backing into.
That would be kind of the question is, we have those zoned as RT. We've got some residential uses, we've got some non-residential uses. So rather than looking at neighborhood shopping and making it up to that, the question would be, really as the small mandate is, RT right now is basically the neighborhood shopping equivalent. When you think about it, except it can't have freestanding retail.
RT can have freestanding retail based on a special use permit that would be subject to the planning board's review along with their site plan. But it does limit it to saying, that the retail uses are, I'll say low impact, low foot traffic to them. So something that would, you wouldn't have a high use in that. That would be, it wouldn't be something that
Photographer.
that was one of the things that I 100% agree that neighborhood shopping over there is not warranted, and with the upcoming form-based zoning, that structure, one of the key things that RT and RM both have in them is the purpose and intent is encourage continuance of existing residential character as RT, and RM is remain existing residential character of establishing neighborhoods. So when the grower showcase happened there was no modifications to the site. Now, if they were to propose something, how would that fall in with the planning board to accommodate ADA parking, the parking for the people working there, and then the people showing up to the business?
So from where you're standing right now, do you think the applicant would be able to make it work in RT with a special permit?
I think that seeing how the retail use for, again, the low intensity businesses has been approved, and the cannabis grower showcase was approved, that a amendment to the previous local law that allowed that would be to add cannabis dispensaries without on-site consumption into the RT zoning district, which would then, it would restrict other businesses from entering.
We discussed this when we originally made this local law to accommodate grower showcase, and I think it's important to share that that experience went without a hitch. I had trepidation about it, I made that clear, I said, we're gonna take a chance here, we're gonna see how it goes, and it went.
I have to say, I think there is going to be some questions with the parcel regarding parking, lighting, because you're gonna need photometrics for the neighboring properties, and they're gonna require that the property be lit appropriately, so how they're gonna deal with the photometric lighting over there. So just because this is granted, doesn't mean that it is a viable location through the planning board, but it would allow them to move forward in that process of looking to see if it is a viable
It'd
location.
be more expense to bring it up to the standard if it was to be a permanent place than when it was the grower showcase.
Yeah.
But I think the grower showcase indicated that it does qualify as a low impact business,
Correct.
which previously was sort of an
And
unknown.
we didn't know.
We didn't, was this gonna be a
I
Starbucks
see
or
what
was
you're
it gonna be a hairdresser? And what we found was it was much more of a hairdresser and much less of Starbucks.
So then maybe it comes down to an interpretation by us of the low impact use.
Yeah.
Maybe not even a modification to RT, and then just allow this to go through the planning board process for a special use permit with RT in place. And also what this does too is, in the meantime, we now know neighborhood shopping is CA but smaller. But not what I would call neighborhood shopping, not the shop on the corner. Whereas RT, with our current understanding of it, it's really, RM is the multi-use, transition district between residential and commercial, and RT is the non-mixed use. But it's still small, low impact businesses that we would have to make that,
Right, so we still need to rewrite.
Yeah.
But we can do it, we can use this one for now.
So I think, so let's do that, maybe on Friday, the three of us will look at that, we'll try to make sure that we have a good understanding of RT, if changes need to be made to RT, we can draft something up to have the board consider. But then we'll consult with the applicants and let them know kind of what the board's decisions.
And thank you for staring me about multiple zone parcels.
It's more of when you're looking to, because those parcels could probably fit in, are probably within the RT setback of them. I can show you that in the map, and then I can forward you what the constraints are and how that is reviewed when you are doing a subdivision or in an R1 RA, looking at lot sizes for what the applicable lot sizes are, again, when you get into that for subdividing properties. So I can forward that onto the board so you know that we do have legislation in place to handle those properties.
I thank you for the discussion, that was great, very productive. Okay, next up, we have a public hearing for local law amending the conditions for approval of independent electrical inspectors. We spent some time on this one, does anyone have anything before we jump into the public hearing? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Need motion to open the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Is there anyone here to comment on the local law amending the conditions for approval of independent electrical inspectors? Is there anybody here joining us remotely? If you are here to make a comment on this, please use the raise hand function. Okay. I will take this moment to welcome Councilor Creasel joining us remotely. Thanks for hopping on. And okay, so seeing no comments?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And on behalf of Councilor Creasel, I will make a motion to adopt local law 2024 amending the conditions for approval of independent electrical inspection firms as presented in the resolution prepared by the attorney for the town.
22 for that.
Yeah. This is our first law.
So this year, yeah.
For me, we're slow. Who was the second on that? Absolutely.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have a public hearing for, local law, 10/124-2, updating the town's existing floodplain management regulations.
Okay, I would like to give a rating.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I should open the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So the public hearing open. Anyone here who would like to comment on this public hearing? Is there anyone joining us remotely? If you would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So, just so people can follow along, basically, we have to make some adjustments as for DEC. They're looking, they were looking for the draft local law. This is to allow us to continue to work with them on.
Yeah, basically, our law says referenced in the FEMA map. The FEMA map changed, so we have to we need to accept that the map that is attached to is now different. And that's because the dam came down in the creek and it changed the. This is your government at work, being slow. Bureaucratic. Motion to adopt 2024-2, update the town's existing floodplain regulations as presented in resolution prepared by the attorney.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So next up, we have the Seven Pines zone change application. Do we have anyone here representing Seven Pines? Okay, so, basically, this was a zone change that brought us last year. There were 4 parcels in consideration. The board opted to go for 3 of them, to be updated from, I believe, RA to RM, with the intent of allowing it to, have some, apartments above some professional offices. I know, I had talked pretty extensively with the folks over at Seven Pines, but I know recently, Councilor Tony, I don't know if you met with them. So if you just kind of like to give us a summary.
Yes, Councilor Meshi and I met with them yesterday.
Excuse me, can you speak up? Yes.
Yesterday, Councilor Meshi and I met with them and spoke with them about the whole process list. We did bring up that their first appearance in front of us, the decision was that they would change 3 of them. We would change 3 of them with the understanding that they could come back after they finish them and request a zone change to the other parcel, as long as they showed that they were still good neighbors and everything like that, but now they're coming back prior to doing any of those changes. Why, so on and so forth like that. They explained their reasonings behind it, was that their whole funding application was based off of doing all their buildings. When they went back to present it with just their 3 parcels being changed, it wasn't financially feasible for them. We discussed various things that we would like them to do to come back and present to us and discuss with the residents to see if it's possible to appease all of us, the town board, including the residents in the area. Because the last thing we want to see happen is the whole property be vacated and just come into disarray and disrepair. So they're not here tonight because of those requests that we made of them to see if they're hopefully going to be able to do that. And then in a few weeks, they'll circle back to us with those changes and we'll see what happens from there. So at this time, we're not going to be making any motions with moving anything forward to that. We'll hopefully see what they can bring back to us that in the future.
Any comments?
Yeah, I just spoke with them this morning also, so the developer is somebody I know, and the architect is a resident of the town, Manlius, and he made it very, very clear, their objective is to carry this project forward in the most satisfying way for the neighbors and for the people that they're working for, but most importantly to me, the neighbors, I've stressed this about 12 times, you can't do this if you're not gonna be a good neighbor with your project, and my thoughts go back to last year, and a number of concerns that came before us about the potential for noise, light pollution, traffic, all these things, and, they addressed them at the time to our satisfaction. Now we've changed the plan, so now we've discussed some things about, the double pane windows, are they truly up to code, are we gonna be able to analyze the sound leakage levels and whatnot? The landscaping and the fencing going to be high enough to actually mitigate any sightline intrusions and things of that nature. So like Councilor Taliana said, we don't have those answers tonight, but these are some of the questions that we're demanding answers to. And they're very amenable to these so far.
So we expect this to come back on in the future agenda.
Exactly,
Yes.
that help come back with some responses here.
Okay, let's get back to them and let's ask for, a letter, like something that can bring us and the residents up to speed on the conversation, what they've done. I just wanna make sure that when we talk about this again, we have new information.
Right, and that's also something I did ask them to provide updated documents as well when they do come back with more updated information. They were also amenable to meeting with the residents outside of a board meeting as well. It was something that we were able to arrange to address some of your concerns as well before they did come back and bring it to us again.
Well, thank you for having those meetings and, letting them know what we're looking for. Appreciate it, okay? So we'll keep moving right along, very happy, with having another thing on the agenda, to hire, project coordinator, so we have a three position, and then, hire, Rebecca Broom. So this was, kind of in response to some of the project work that the board is trying to take on. Some of the bigger projects, and Earthfest is definitely one of them, potentially the town newsletter, reaching out to residents, doing community engagement, things like that. And so we were essentially looking for somebody that would be able to do this, ended up finding a really great candidate, things just kind of worked out. But before you've got a motion to create a position and hire Rebecca Broom. Any questions, comments? She started with us yesterday, it was a great day, got a lot done. But just, if no other comments or questions.
Thank you very much to the folks who recruited Rebecca and brought her to us and highlighted the skills and the opportunity that was before us.
Okay.
Make a motion to create the position of project coordinator.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to hire Rebecca. Woman at a rate of $30 per hour for 20 hours per week, effective February 13th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next up, following a number of interviews, we have a recommendation from the planning board chair and secretary to the board. The board did a second round of interviews and approved the recommendations to appoint both David Shomar and Don Western to the planning board, one of those being a full term, one of those being a 1-year vacancy. So, any questions, any comments? We'll see, they're in the motions. We had a pretty good slate of folks apply, some really great conversations and interviews. It was a good, well worth the process to go through, so, also just some motions.
I was just gonna say, having met them both and about to leave, I just feel like they're gonna be fantastic additions and, Chair Valerie Beecham has, also, met them and, can't wait to see them in meetings. So I can make a motion to appoint Don Western to the planning board for a 1-year term ending 12/31/24.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up.
I make a motion to appoint David Shomar to the planning board for a full term term ending 12/31/2030.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, town planning committee, we spoke with our engineer on the last engineering call, he sent over some very helpful information, kind of lays out what the intent of the committee is, and we're gonna be, trying to set, one of those up for February or early March, to consider a couple of, things before the town right now. One, the PUD over at Twin Ponds, there's a question about a road with an adjacent parcel, and then potentially here another, development, that is, looking for a PUD. But we're gonna be reaching out to the schools and all the agencies that we're bringing together on that. And we'll set something up, pretty quick.
Is there any way to, communicate with those or like update them or send minutes or whatever from that meeting to them or something? But I think Osida is an interesting potential.
I think that
Yes.
the original intent was if we had like like, if we knew we had something where we want them to weigh in, that they would be invited to the meeting. But also, I mean, it shouldn't be hard to keep them updated on what's going on.
And I think given their perhaps more interventionist attitude now, it would be good to make sure that they're aware of what.
Okay, so next up, with Councilor Waters, leaving us, we have some, appointments and liaisons to take care of, specifically, appointing, Councilor Neshi to the police committee, and designating William Nixon as the liaison to the police department.
You hear that, Vasilian?
Yes.
So, we already presented here, we have a motion here.
Whatever. I'm going to approve the updated committee and liaison appointments as presented.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
They all abstain.
And that was a very bittersweet motion.
Okay, then, next up, we have the appointment of a court attendant. So we've got someone who's going to court, very. Motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Sean Will to the position of court attendant at a rate of $52 per hour.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Oh, this is. Okay, so remember we put it back in, it's still ours.
That's in the program.
Yeah.
So, the Parks Department wants to be clear that it's still ours and you're responsible for it. So, they've suggested that we, approve this recommendation to accept responsibility for maintenance and care and feeding of the, at Pittsburgh Park, which they will, just for your knowledge, it's at the park office, so they'll call us if anything does break on it, so it's not like we have to go check it all the time, but we will be responsible for repairing anything if it breaks. And they're still putting it in for us, can you pick it up? Yeah, and we have already planned to do some regular maintenance on it, annually to grease it and so forth, but if something were to break, we would be notified, and we would ask somebody to make that.
Remove it from service, if that happens, or block it off, or.
They'll put it on out or something.
So, Sarah, I think because you carried the water on, the grant application and all the work on it, it's naturally been something under your purview, but I think now that it's operational, and I think that it might be something going forward that is more appropriate for rec to, like, have as part of their keeping track of, or make sure rec is briefed on this kind of stuff. I'm just proposing.
How is the maintaining of it though?
How it is?
Yeah. You're gonna look at the installation and.
But we'll,
So you're not gonna fix it.
That's true. So we'll make sure highway knows we agree to this.
Yes.
Structure.
Yeah, so I will make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with New York State Parks Recreation and Historic Preservation as presented for the maintenance of the dock at Pittsburgh picnic area for 10 years.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So next up, I've been working, with the comptroller, to get this prepared, and everybody who helped out. Basically, what you see before us is the kind of gear and maintenance. We've got, a number of prepared items here, budget transfers, encumbrances, and adjustments. So transfers, modify, basically swapping money between two lines. Encumbrances, money that wasn't spent in 2023 that we're holding until, and adjustments, those are just one lines that we're, amending, to match what actually was spent in 2023. With the hope of, once this is approved, get us that much more closer to the annual report being done. Questions?
So there looks like they have to be three separate motions.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget transfer for 2023 as presented.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the 2023 budget encumbrances as presented.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Motion to approve the 2023 budget adjustments as presented.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Yes, thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so, number 17, a school speed zone request from elementary, or for Fremont Elementary for Richmond Road West. So I got an email about a month ago, from the principal over at Fremont Elementary asking, basically what the process was to create a school speed zone in front of the elementary school. So there is one currently on Fremont Road, but there isn't one in that, in the residential road that directly serves. Yep. And so, you know, I've talked with our attorney. We're gonna have to, there's a whole process, to fill out forms, gonna talk to other agencies, get approvals and things like that. Eventually hold a public hearing. Basically, I just wanted to make everyone aware of that request, so that if you do get, you know, questions about it, communicate with the principal over there, let them know that as we go, we'll be getting updates. You know, we'll know when the public hearing is, if we need anything from them, we'll be getting that. But that's just the process that we're gonna start moving forward. So, any questions on that?
Is it a different process because it's a school speed zone?
I think it's a more intensive process than like a speed change, because they're asking for the zone, there's gonna be striping, and I think our engineers are gonna have to take a look at it. So it's a much more involved process rather than.
And is it just because like the layout, is it because that's such a long entryway to get to the school, is that why it's not, is it has to do with the radius from the building itself, or?
To be honest, I think, you know, that's really what we're gonna kind of go through the process, but the general idea is that, you know, maybe at one time when, you know, you had folks at the door, maybe, you know, had kids in the elementary school, that people were going slow, but it is not that case anymore.
I think it's there, and it's, yeah.
Yeah,
Good idea.
yeah, it's a pretty, you know, it's a straight curve, so I mean, definitely get people who are speeding there. You know, we were actually, out in that neighborhood last summer, and you definitely get a couple people going a lot faster than you expect, so.
Yeah, I think the critical piece here is kind of our town engineer way, and just to make sure that the speed makes sense of that.
But there's also
and
some
it's
site-
feasible.
There's like a site line issue that I just think needs to be done.
Yeah.
So our
It
engineer
would
was
be
not,
on Fremont Road,
No, on Richmond.
on Richmond
Because
Road.
Fremont Road already has,
So, following this,
which I understand is not a big area.
I'm sorry?
I understand that on Fremont Road, they don't slow down to school somewhere.
yes, we find that a lot.
I need more.
so, you know, following this conversation, we'll get the vote on that, we'll talk to the engineers, just wanted to give, you know, flag of everybody. And also too, this is something that I think this is the first time, I know I'm experiencing this, so I figured, you know, we take some time to add to the agenda rather than just kind of show up. Great, I know, Sarah, you have, something more.
So I would like to share some good news that the glacial speed of government does eventually result in something happening. So there was some flooding, there's a few times, but there was some serious flooding in North Eagle Village where Bishop Brooks crossed over. Several of us got involved with the residents. We had student project work on it. We spent lots of engineering time looking at various modelings and ditches and gutters and various opportunities up there. Eventually, in December of 2021, our engineer prepared a study proposal. I spent quite a bit of time with the New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, which had a funding application that was available in the spring. We submitted the documentation from the engineering to the state. The state looked at all the applications and picked finalists. The finalists then went to FEMA for their evaluation. We received a letter on January in 2024 to respond to the flood that happened in 2021 to say we may now study why the water came downhill. That was not. But we got it. The engineers will do that study. With the study, you can then apply for abatement money to do something about the water flying out. So, we made progress.
Have you sent that to Dr. Hart yet? Oh, that's down the road.
Yeah.
And then, just before we move on to the minutes and abstract, a number of you, we discussed the Ravine Ridge left turning lane, 192. I did, we got a response back from DOT. We sent a letter, we made it very clear that we didn't agree with how they determined whether or not to have a left turning lane. We had the signatures from everybody in the neighborhood. I also sent that to Assemblyman Scarpy and Senator John Mannion. We did get a response back. I have communicated with Mr. Gilman, who heads the neighborhood association there. I told him that we would continue any opportunity I get to talk to someone from DOT. I'm gonna mention that it's probably worth more consideration. I've looked in the Assemblyman and the Senator, just so they know where we're at. So while we didn't get a resolution we're hoping for, it's, we're on the record. Yeah, we're on the record for, letting the DOT know how we feel about that bus turn.
I would say sort of ancillary to that, it is interesting that I've only been on this board for 2 years, and a TE9 study is just kind of goes off into the papers. But there's a speed limit reduction on Sweet Road that actually got approved.
Yeah.
The neighbors came and they wanted to, 45 on that stretch.
And it was a significant, it was, a mile and a quarter. So that's
A mile, yeah.
Yeah. So
there's hope.
yeah.
And there's one on Wheeler that's still being reviewed, and I don't know how the others, but we could also, like, TE9 status update or like in progress, like days out for, I don't know, growing up, something like that.
Internally, we are working with the county to better understand the TE9 process. We've had some feedback, so we're gonna continue to work with them, but again, this is.
That's where we have the civil service conversation.
Right, as we have these requests, we try to get them processed so if they're gonna be considered, we can move those things forward, but we will continue to work on that process. So, any other updates? Okay, for approval of the January 24 minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from January 24, 2024.
I'll second.
It's the last time you can do it.
I was like, how would I write it?
All those in favor? Aye.
They're always great.
The abstract?
Okay, we have big winners.
Oh, yes.
So I would like to make a motion to approve abstract number 3 in the amount of $5,674,099.71. The winners is on of course, our 3 beloved firefighters.
Yeah, I'll second that, and also some salt.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Councilor Crystal, I believe you have something you wanted to share?
Hey, everybody, can you hear me okay? Vivian, can you just turn off YouTube for a second? So I apologize I wasn't able to be there in person. I made every effort because I really deeply wanted to be there for Councilor Waters' last meeting. So it was a hard decision, but I didn't want to be rolling into Philadelphia at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, but I did prepare a proclamation to honor our colleague that I'm going to read. See if I can make it through this one without crying, since I did not make it through Councilor Denton's without crying, but we'll see. Whereas it is with great respect and appreciation that we recognize the service of Councilor Heather Allison Waters to the greater Manlius community as a member of the Manlius Town Board from 2020 to 2024. Whereas Councilor Waters has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to diplomacy and fairness. Whereas Councilor Waters' contributions have significantly enriched the discussions, decisions, and initiatives of the Manlius Town Board, fostering progress and positive change within our community. Whereas Councilor Waters served with exceptional leadership as the co-chair of the Comprehensive Plan Committee, guiding the development and implementation of strategies that will shape the future of our community for years to come. Her visionary leadership will be an enduring part of her legacy, leaving an indelible mark on the future of Manlius. Whereas Councilor Waters demonstrated a steadfast commitment to environmental sustainability and conservation as the co-chair of the Tree Commission, advocating for the preservation of green spaces and the promotion of tree planting initiatives throughout the community. Through her dedicated efforts, the town achieved recognition as a tree city by the Arbor Day Foundation each year of her tenure, underscoring her leadership in promoting the importance of trees and enhancing air quality, providing habitat for wildlife, and beautifying our surroundings. Whereas Councilor Waters serves with distinction as chair of the police committee and as the liaison to the police department, overseeing matters critical to public safety with diligence and care, ensuring that the needs and concerns of our community were heard and addressed in an effective and responsive manner. Under her leadership, initiatives were implemented to enhance community police relations and strengthen partnerships between law enforcement and residents, contributing significantly to the well-being and security of our town. Whereas Councilor Waters initiated the first pride flag raising in the town's history, fostering inclusivity, diversity, and acceptance within our community, and leaving a lasting legacy of progress and equality. Whereas Councilor Waters has announced her resignation, see, I almost made it all the way through, from the Manlius Town Board to pursue new opportunities, taking with her our deepest gratitude and best wishes for success in her future endeavors. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Manlius Town Board and the residents of our town express profound gratitude to Councilor Waters for her exceptional service, dedication, and sacrifice to the betterment of our community, and be it further proclaimed that Councilor Waters will be remembered and honored for her invaluable contributions, and her legacy of public service will continue to inspire us all. So thank you, Heather.
Oh my God. Hey, listen. Thank you so much for this opportunity to serve with you and to serve our fellow residents. Thank you so much to our professional staff for everything you have taught me, everything you've given me, incredible patience with exuberance. And I just want to remind everybody that Matilda Jocelyn Gage sat in her living room, her front room, and worked diligently on the details of democracy. She plugged away, and I believe we are all here because of that particular activity in her home, her belief, and her way of bringing people together. And we are really lucky to have that proximity to her, but honestly, it's kind of an American ideal right now, so that we can all remember that you just plug away. I have learned a lot about, I came in with all kinds of ideas about the way things could work, and going into a new leadership position. Yes, I've taken some other professional experience with me, but it is this experience that is making me better at my job now in serving our community broadly. And it's just the most amazing training ground. And I hope that is the proof of why you get involved in public service before you're done with your career and retire, because it is so invaluable to learn how to work in government and with government officials in order to be a better leader, a better citizen, and a better neighbor. So please think about running and serving, volunteering here in the town of Manlius or wherever you are, any stage of life, because it's valuable. Thank you.
Bravo.
With that, I would ask Councilor Waters for a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I would love to have a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? We'll do it. Opposed? Okay. Happy Valentine's, everybody.